and welcome to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. Join us for interviews, updates and chat with artists, influencers and those that manufacture the gear that we love. Hello and welcome to 9 to 42, which is the podcast from the guys at the Guitar Show UK. And after what seems like an age, because I can't remember the last time we did one of these, I am looking at my good friend Jace on screen. Jace, how the devil are you?
Oh, I'm very good, mate. Well, the problem was I went on holiday for a fortnight and then you went on holiday for a fortnight, which kind of buggered up the recording. So this is the start of season 2.
It is the start of season 2. Because we kind of, post the show and everything, it all kind of, we've not let it slip, but we have been busy, haven't we?
Very.
And when I say we, I mean you.
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
You know, because you've high pressure and all that, and you know, very important, and I just muddle along. So this is the start of season 2. We're recording this in mid-August, but you're probably not going to hear it till about September. So we're going to start a new season, hopefully, you know, a bit more organised at that point in time. Yeah, well, we'll know by now, but we'll wait and see how we get on. Anything exciting to tell me from your break?
No. My amp played Croppery Festival last week.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't, but my amp did.
Your amp did?
Yeah. Yeah, it was the first. I listened to my amp on a massive stage and went, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so my mate John.
Every time that'll happen.
My mate John borrowed it he's in a band called Edward II, and he borrowed my AC-15.
Right stage for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But other than that, nothing.
Well, the only thing for me, apart from normal bits and pieces, is I've just bought a new telly, which I'm really, really over the moon with. And...
Yeah, you are the first person in the world I know that has bought a Jason Isbell Telecaster who hasn't actually listened to Jason Isbell.
That's right.
Which is insane,
right.
Because he's one of the finest songwriters on the planet today.
Yeah, but I just wanted a Bound-Edge telly, and it's lovely. So, yeah, I didn't realise what I'd stepped into, and then I've been admonished by you ever since. Anyway, let's get going. To kick off season 2, we have Guy Griffin with us, or Griff, who is player with the Quireboys and plays with the Down N Outz. And over the moon, it's kind of come together very much in over a couple of days. So great to be able to speak to Griff. Griff, how are you? How's life treating you?
How are you? All right. Yeah, all good. All good. Nice to get the chance to speak with you guys. This sort of came up last minute. I bumped into Joel from Classic Rock at a show, and then he put us in contact with you guys. So
yeah, bless him, Joel.
Yeah.
I mean, if he just sent me a message. He sent me quite a drunken message at about 12:30, and went, "Guess who I've been drinking with?" And then sent me a picture of him looking far worse for wear than you were.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It was a hot night. That's all I'll say. But we saw a fantastic band called the Cinelli Brothers, and they're sort of an Italian blues band based in the UK.
Right.
And they all swap instruments, and they're all brilliant at everything. These guys, and it was kind of like I don't know, sort of old Fleetwood Mac or cross with the band or something like that.
Wow!
Yeah, and it was totally unexpected. I wasn't expecting something that good at the venue I went to, but it was amazing.
Well, if you told me you'd seen the Cinelli Brothers or an Italian outfit, I've been in touch with an Italian outfit called, I would have thought it was an ice cream parlour.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know. Maybe that's the sideline. I don't know. Yeah.
So I've been research. I didn't have to do that much research, if I'm perfectly honest. I must have seen you play, I don't know, 50 times with the Quireboys. Because
glutton for punishment.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I was just the right age.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I originally saw the Quireboys when it was just Guy Bailey on guitar.
Yeah.
Then I saw them when Ginger joined, and then obviously you joined after Ginger.
Yeah.
I think, did Ginger just do 1 12-inch with them? Was that it? And then you joined and did the album.
Yeah, he did one. He did one. It might have been. He might have done two singles. The 2 singles Yeah. But,
Yeah, and but at the time, which would have been what, 88, 89,
yeah.
it felt like you were on tour around the UK almost every other week.
Yeah.
So we just used to go every other week
Yeah.
to what would have been Edward's number 8 in Birmingham, or
Yeah, I remember
JB's
that.
in Dudley, or is it the Roadhouse that was in Walsall, Wolverhampton?
Junction 10.
Junction 10, that was
Junction
it.
10, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think, and I'm not sure, if I saw your first band, which was Feline Groove.
Feline Groove, yeah. We did play Edward's number 8. I remember playing that. I can't remember. I think we might have been supporting, was it Gunfire Dance or one of those? I think.
Gunfire Dance.
They were
Birmingham's should have been, would have been, could have been.
Yeah, they were really cool. You know, back then it was, you know, also how you looked, wasn't it? And
yeah.
And they had it all going on. Gunfire Dance. They looked really cool. They were a good band, actually. You know, just
it just didn't quite get there for them. But yeah. So I went back onto. I searched for Feline Groove today, and I managed to listen to your demos from, what was it, 87, something like that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
and it was very much of its time, I think.
Yes, let's leave it at that.
There was a bit that I wrote down on my notes. Oh, a Dogs D'Amour cover. Oh no, it's not. It's an original song.
Of course well, you know. You know what? A lot of people have made millions out of just doing literally that, just completely ripping off songs. You know. So we were just doing the same when we were, you know, but at least we had an excuse. We were like 17 years old, you know.
Yeah, I read a story that you kind of got yourself down to the Kerrang offices.
Yeah,
and harangued Razel.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even have the nerve to do anything like that now. But yeah, when you're young and you think you're going to take over the world, like, you know, if you're in a band, you know, that's how you are. So myself and Martin, the singer, we went down to Future Publishing, which is in Camden, where the Kerrang offices were, and we just went there and said, "Oh, we've got a interview booked with Razel," because he was the guy who was into all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, no, Ray's not here." I said, "Well, we've got an interview booked with him." We didn't. And so they called him, and he goes, "Keep them there." He says, "I've actually just listened to their demo and I love it. I'll come down and interview them."
Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, you couldn't make it up, but it was, and that sort of, we were starting to play in London, and, you know, so we played with we used to support Quireboys, as it was at the time.
Yeah.
And that's obviously how I was sort of got involved with all that, really, in the end.
So how did you end up joining sort of post Ginger, the Quireboys?
Well, there's a funny story that in 87, I think it was 87, because I moved to London the day of the big hurricane there. You know, remember there was when Michael Fish said there was
yeah.
That was the day I moved to London, and so I think that was 87, and I was working at Our Price Records in Cheapside, which is opposite the Bank of England. Yeah. And it's this tiny shop, but it was the busiest Our Price. You know, this is like back in 87, so it was like Rick Astley and all these records flying out. And I got a call from Spike, but it was, you know, to my parents' house in Bedford. So I went to a phone box and called him, and he goes, "Oh yeah, we want to get a second guitar player, but I haven't been able to get hold of you." And I said, "All right, yeah." He says, "Oh, we're supporting Guns N' Roses at the Hammersmith Odeon." And I was like, "Here's me, like, my ship's come in." And he says, "But we couldn't get hold of you, so we've got this guy, this Geordie guy." And I was like, "Oh, great." You know, feigning like sort of happiness, but, you know. So I thought, well, that's it. You know, I've missed my chance. And then they got signed, and the whole Sharon Osbourne thing and all that kind of thing, and EMI and all that, and they went out to America. Back in the day when the Americans would fly you out there just to hang out for a week and act like rock stars and all that, the new signings to Capitol Records. And Ginger went out there, and obviously I wasn't there, so I can't say what happened, but it didn't go well. It didn't go well for Ginger by the time they got back to London. So and then I got a call, and I was like, yeah, here we are. So I ended up rehearsing with them for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we went out to LA and made the first record, A Bit of What You Fancy.
Wow. So how old were you at this point? Like 18?
I was 19. I was 20 when I think I was 19 when I was first in the band, even though I wasn't officially ever asked to join the band. It was like, and then Sharon said, "You're in the band. Don't take any notice of those idiots. You're in the band." I said, "All right." So I joined. I think it was the end of '88, and then in '89 we went. We were recording the album by April '89, so I was 20 when we were making the record.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I suppose then you've got like years of, like I say, you were seemingly on tour constantly throughout that period.
Yeah.
You go in and do the next album, which from memory wasn't that well received. It was a long time ago. And then the band splits up.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. In a couple of sentences, you summed it up. Yeah. We went out to Vancouver with Bob Rock, and we were in Vancouver we were actually there for about 3 weeks, just twiddling our thumbs basically, because there was something going on with the album he was making, at the redoing stuff, and that was the Metallica album, the Black Album. They were in town, finishing it off, and we were just sort of waiting there. And so yeah, we did the thing with Bob Rock. It didn't work out completely how we wanted it, and then I don't know. Somehow we ended up working with Chris Kimsey in London, finishing it off. But by that time, the whole music scene had changed. So
yeah, I was just about to say it was a really, because I mean you're talking what, 93, aren't you?
93, yeah.
Yeah, and rock just, I mean, Nirvana just came along, and grunge came along, and just
everything was, and anything that was pre that, was it's not like we were some, like a metal band or what they'd call hair metal or LA rock, but you do sort of get lumped in with certain things, and some bands managed to ride it through. I mean, the Black Crowes rode it through.
They did.
They managed to set themselves apart from all that stuff a little bit, I think.
To be fair, though, their first album sold like 6 squillion albums, didn't it? But their career kind of went down and then sort of like plateaued, didn't it? I mean, I saw the Black Crowes on pretty much every tour they did of the UK, and they never got to that sort of arena level. It was always like theatres.
They didn't ever get to that. I mean, I know they're in America now doing quite, bigger shows than they would have done back then. So, but yeah, I mean, we were hanging out with them when we were doing our album. It was like we were the big news in LA at the time, because we had all the Capitol Records and Sharon Osbourne, and and being English, we were a bit of a novelty there.
Yeah.
And the Black Crowes were just doing a record down the road. I mean, at the time, they were actually, the guy funding their record was Dave Lee Roth. Because it was his it was his manager, that managed them, wasn't it?
Peter
Angelus or whatever,
yeah.
And but the money for all the rehearsals, it was Dave Lee Roth, which is a little known fact.
It's quite interesting if you think about that period, because going back, I mean, you said about being lumped in with the LA or with the American scene, and obviously hair rock was a big thing, and to a certain extent, Nirvana was a grunge, or not. I say Nirvana, but grunge. I mean, obviously with Nirvana kind of at the head of it, was a bit of reaction to that. But the UK stuff going around at the time wasn't as bloated or as over produced or what have you. Because I remember at that time going out and I'm thinking of bands like Thunder. It was just a good time rock and roll band.
Yeah,
that it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't overly produced. It wasn't. No. I mean, it's guitar straight into amps. It was nothing like some of the big American stuff that really was, where the production had gone a little bit bonkers. And it's just a shame that it all folded in on itself, and everybody got taken at the knees. When actually, in reality, bands like yourselves and Thunder and some of the others, that wasn't the sound that was being reacted against.
No, it wasn't. I think at the time we got a little bit of flack because we did spend a lot of time in America, and out of all the UK bands that were at the time, Little Angels, Almighty, Thunder, Dogs to More, there's a few, and it was a really good time for British sort of rock or rock and roll and all that. Yeah. But we were the only sort of band that really spent any time touring America. There was, maybe to our detriment because we were doing quite well everywhere, but we spent a lot of time in America, trying to crack it or whatever. We spent months touring over there with various bands. So I think we got lumped in a lot with the American thing. And also at that time, we used to get a lot of flack in the press because we'd sort of sold out or something, going to America. And it's like, well, what would you do if you've been stuck in London for years, and someone says, do you want to go and record in Hollywood?
Well, yeah, you do.
Yeah, so that's what we did.
As if, if the Little Angels have been asked, I mean, I can't see Toby turning around going, do you know what, mate, you're fine, we'll stay here.
Oh yeah, I mean, all those guys would have done the same, and I'm not saying that those guys didn't play in America, because, I mean, I saw Little Angels at a gig in America, so, but we were touring a lot with, bands like Hearts and then bands like LA Guns when they were sort of hitting it big, and it was quite an experience. Touring America, in the tour bus, and we had two tour buses. LA Guns had one tour bus. We were the support band. We had two tour buses with us and all of Ozzy Osbourne's crew on the other bus on Ozzy Osbourne wages, obviously. You live and you learn, don't you? But they were all great guys. But it was like, we were touring clubs and amphitheaters and small theaters. And we had like 12 crew.
How many crew do you have today?
One, if we're lucky. Maybe two. No, two basically. That's all you need,
As long as you're not still paying for that crew.
Well, not anymore. But I did manage to look at some of the financial statements from years ago, going up into actually my mum's loft. And I found this box. And I was like, we spent how much? Bloody hell. At the time, none of us even looked at it. You were just like, yeah, whatever.
You go on for the ride, don't you?
Yeah. And I'm glad we did, because that world really doesn't exist anymore unless you're on a certain higher level.
Yeah. There's no kind of midpoint anymore, is there? There used to be kind of a bit of a midpoint where you could still kind of be on the coattails of it and have some of the experiences. Now it's either Uber or down at a level.
Well, you've got to be able to fund it yourself. From what you're getting paid for the shows, or for the or collectively what all the how much money the tour's going to bring in, and then you figure it out. You figure it out, and you travel how you want to travel. But I mean, for years, the way we've traveled, apart from in America, the last couple of times we've been to America, we've been in a sleeper bus because it seems such long distances and all that. But if you're touring around Europe, we just fly in and fly out, and make sure someone picks us up and get a support band who's got nice gear, and we just plug into that. Just take the guitars, Chuck Berry style, really, or just in the UK, we're being a splitter, because it's all very well being in one of these sleeper buses, but after about 3 days, a bunch of blokes on a sleeper bus with one toilet, it's not as glamorous as it looks. You know what I mean? I'd rather have a hotel room.
Yeah, it doesn't sound glamorous.
No, it looks good. It looks good parked outside, but
the UK isn't that big that you need to have, unless you're playing Aberdeen and then Exeter the following day.
So someone's got to really fuck your schedule up, haven't they? To send you from Aberdeen to Exeter and then back to Newcastle.
That's quite a usual thing for us.
So are you slightly off track from where I was going, but are you self-managed now, or have you got a manager?
No, we have management, and we have all the usual stuff, record label, press officer, or whatever you call it, press agent. But essentially we, the nuts and bolts is sorted out, within ourselves, really.
Yeah.
We've been doing it long enough. It's like, and it's in our own interest to do it in the best financial way we can. You want as much money out of a gig as you can get.
Absolutely, and giving 20% to someone else or 15% to an agent or whatever. It's just,
Yeah, it's. I mean, we still have a bit of that. You still have to give a certain percentage to people, but being on the road at this point in our lives, it may cost more for everybody to have their own hotel room, luxury, But at this point in your life, you're like, you know what, everyone's got to have their own room, and however anybody wants to get to the gig and the expenses, it is what it is. You just want to keep everyone happy, really. That's the main thing, a happy ship.
So the Quireboys kind of disband, but you stay in America. Is that the next part?
Yeah, I was in America. Well, basically from when we went and did the first record, excuse me, and then we'd come back every now and then. We'd end up in LA. You get to know a lot of people and other, all the band. There was a lot of bands around at that time, and and then you end up staying. You meet, you meet a girl or whatever. You get met, all that sort of stuff. So I was there from then till I moved back to the UK around about 2004. So I spent a lot of time in LA, and I had a band out there, and ended up eventually getting a record deal with Atlantic Records. It was a band called Glimmer, and we toured with Cheap Trick and a few different bands through the States, and which was fun.
I was listening to Glimmer today, and the first thing I wrote down, is Glimmer named after the Glimmer twins?
Pretty much. I think we had. It was one of those things where we had about 2 or 3 different. We went through about 2 or 3 different names, and it's like, oh no, there's a band called that. There's a band called that. And then when it came to the record deal, so no, there's a band called that. You got to think of a name in the next 2 days or something. So it was like, so it became that. Yeah.
And I actually really like listening to the album today.
Thanks.
And it sounds to me as if you were at the right place, the right sound, but you should have been in the UK rather than America.
Yeah, and it was an English band as well, so we did actually come and play some shows in the UK, and then someone called us from the US and said, are you in the UK? We said, yeah, come back to the US, we're going to sign you. So, all right. So we went back,
But it sounded quite Britpoppy, mid-90s guitar music. Yeah. And I'm not entirely sure that Britpop translated to the States very well.
No, I mean, I mean, you know, obviously I loved all that. You know, I loved Supergrass and Oasis, and I mean all that stuff. There was a lot of great Suede. There were some great bands in that period. Looking
Yeah,
back
I
on
mean,
it,
it got a bit shit when the second wave of Britpop bands came through, but actually the sort
yeah,
of like the pioneers of
yeah,
your Suedes and Oasis were brilliant at the time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, luckily living in LA at the time. I used to be able to see all these bands, and they'd be playing tiny clubs. You know, they're massive in the UK, but you see them at the Troubadour or the Whiskey or places like that. You know, so I got to see a lot of those bands. Cast were really good, actually. Which I wasn't expecting, but I thought they were one of the best live ones I saw.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, they were really good.
So you do Glimmer, you do the album. Is it just one album that you did?
Yeah, just the one. It wasn't working out with the label, and I wanted to get off the label, and they wouldn't let us get off the label. And I said, "Well, I'll split the band up." And they said, "No, you won't." And I split the band up, and then that's when the sort of Quireboys thing started up again. But it was basically just we got signed on some songs that I'd written with Spike, and it wasn't going to be called the Quireboys, and things happened, and in the end we called it the Quireboys. And it was actually made it a lot harder for us, I think. Calling at the time, we still wasn't, people weren't that ready for us to be back again.
Yeah, I suppose, because what had the break been? 4 or 5 years, something like that.
No, it was about 8 years. It was
oh, was it?
Yeah. Well, it's from 93, and then the album This Is Rock and Roll came out in 2001, I think.
Right, it's all kind of lost in the mists of time now.
Oh yeah.
I do remember driving over to ST Records in Dudley to pick it up. Because it was one of the few places that would actually kind of stock music, because by that point there was no point you going into HMV or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it'd just be mainstream stuff, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So the Quireboys continue for a while, but I also read that you'd formed a country band as well, the Deserters.
Yeah, well that was I was working with singer called Angie Briere, or Angela Briere, and she was from LA. Ended up making the record in the UK. And she came over and did that, and then it morphed into a band called the Deserters. But it was songs that me and her wrote, and I wrote a few more songs with her that she's put out since. She's great.
So you weren't in the band; you were just kind of
the initial thing of it, I was, and initially it was just me and her acoustic, and then we added people into the band. At one point, Matt Sorum was playing drums in it, actually, for a little bit. Yeah.
Because I listened to was it Stay? Is that?
Yeah.
Is that? It's one of her more recent songs, isn't it?
Well, actually, that one I wrote. I actually, that was written by me. That one. She's put a few. There's been a few videos out there and all that, and she's been recording some stuff, which I put a backing vocal onto, which is a song called "Steal Away," which was one we wrote a long time ago, and she got Gary Louris from the Jayhawks singing on it as well. So, and they're one of my favorite bands. So it was really, in this studio, I was sent all the stuff, and I'm singing along to him. The Brilliant. Guy from the Jayhawks, which was a thing for me,
So the Quireboys have always had that sort of like country-ish sort of part of their sound. Is that something that you particularly like?
Yeah, I love it. I love all the, I guess what you'd call it's termed Americana. Like Ryan Adams and things like that. I really love all, that type of stuff, and the Jayhawks especially. So I've always been into all that sort of stuff, and that going back to the Eagles and and then going through to the more rocky thing like Tom Petty. It's a big thing for me. That's all the stuff that I really like.
So were you laughing when I was taking the piss out of Ant for not actually knowing any Jason Isbell stuff?
Jason Isbell, yeah, no, but he's great. I mean, and quite a guitar player as well.
And the thing is, it's not that I dislike that because Jace knows that. I mean, we both like a bit of Americana. In fact, we're both very big Whiskey Town fans.
Whiskey Town, yeah.
So it's not like. In fact, I'd argue that Stranger's Almanac's one of the best albums ever recorded. But it's I just haven't got round to it, Jace. I haven't got round to it, and I like the guitar. Just don't tell everybody.
Just sort your shit out and go. And
yes, I will do. I'm going to chime in now because I want to know a little bit about the Down N Outz because I've always been a bit of a Def Leppard fan.
Yeah.
And obviously I hail from around Sheffield, so always love the band, and the fact that the lead singer is also a Sheffield United supporter is a big deal for me. So how did that all come about?
Well, what it was at the time we were being looked after by a guy called Mick Brown, who was involved with Ian Hunter and Jason and Scorchers, Dan Baird, and then it came up that Mott the Hoople were going to do this reunion, and Joe's been such a he's been like a champion for the Mott the Hoople cause for years. It's his favourite band basically, and they asked him if he would do something at the gig, maybe play or put a band together because obviously Def Leppard aren't going to be supporting Mott the Hoople, So Mick Brown says, well, the perfect band would be the Quireboys, because it's funny, you got Def Leppard and the Quireboys are quite different types of bands, but we're actually sort of influenced by the same stuff, Mott the Hoople, T-Rex, just different ways of presenting it,
Yeah.
And so that's how it came about. And I mean, I've met Joe over the years a couple of times, so I wasn't like friends with him or anything, but so we just met up and we just struck it off straight away. It was great, and it was such fun. I mean, it was quite hard work as well for myself because it was a little bit out of my comfort zone, because it's quite musically, it's quite Mott the Hoople stuff is quite out there, some of it, and it's not sort of blues based. Some of the rockers are, but it's not really blues based. It goes to weird chord changes. So that's, with my sort of lack of attention span, but it was harder work for Paul Guerin, our other guitar player, but he really shone through that. It was really right up his street, lead wise, and he was doing most of the lead stuff.
Is that how you split in the Quireboys as well? That you share the lead, or
we share the lead in the Quireboys. I mean, a lot of stuff used to be stuff that I played lead on the first couple of albums, and over the years I've just sort of you do that. I can't, I mean, I've even changed guitars that I use. I used to play Les Paul, now I play Telecasters, just because different guitar players we've had in the band turned up with a Les Paul, and sometimes I thought, well, that sounds better than my Les Paul, so I'll just go back. I'll go to the Telecaster, and now I just feel a lot more comfortable playing the Tele.
It's interesting what you said there about Def Leppard, actually, because I mean Joe did another thing, or they did some work with the Hot House Flowers, which again you would go that doesn't seem like the right. That doesn't seem like a natural mix, particularly. I know I was back in the time where I think Joe and one of the two of the others were living in Ireland anyway. But you're right, because his influences have never shone through the Def Leppard sound, but it is all,
Yeah. Well, he's got. I mean, he'd surprise you, when you. He could name any record from any, it's. I mean, he's got thousands of records. He's a music fan, and obviously, like the Def Leppard sound is the Def Leppard sound, which they got that sound, and it's like, yeah, stick with that.
Served them bad.
Hasn't done badly for them, yeah, I mean, like Hot House Flowers. I mean, that's where I first met Joe, because when we were doing our second album, we actually spent a bit of time in Ireland writing, and we were in Dublin, and the Hot House Flowers were in the next studio. So one day I was there in there jamming with them. The musicians are just musicians. A lot of people, music fans, look at bands like they've got to be in one box. And well, how come you're friends with that band? Because they play different sort of music. And it's like, well, every band's doing exactly the same. The music might be different, but they're doing exactly the same thing. Same hotels, same crew, same tour buses, same stories,
Yeah. And the Quireboys always seem to me to be quite a sociable band. So getting on with your next door neighbours.
Yeah, sociable and unsociable at some times it was. Yeah, back then, yeah.
So as you've mentioned the Telecasters, we probably should mention, because, I'm good friends with the guys at John Hornby Skews, and they exhibit at my guitar show and stuff. So you play vintage guitars now.
Yeah, can you see them over there?
I can see them. So you've got what? Is that effectively an ES330?
I've got, whatever. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. There is one that's a Squire in there, which I just bought, which I like. But the other three, the blue one, the black one, and the sort of
the Keith one,
the Keithy one, which is like a broadcaster, I guess. They have different names. I know I'm not supposed to say they're like Telecasters, but I think the V52, one V52 and V57s, I think.
Yeah,
could be wrong, but they're
so
great.
How did that come about? Working with JHS?
I can't remember. I think it was more to do with Paul Guerin, our other guitar player, the other guitar player in the Quireboys, and he lives up in Yorkshire, so he'd sort of, going back to Paul, he used to work at Vintage Guitar Emporium in Kings Road, so he's got lots of contacts, in that arena sort of thing, and we just went down there and tried some stuff out, and they gave us a couple of guitars, but nowadays I buy them because they're great. They're great guitars. I mean, I get a discount, but I don't play anything just to. To be honest, I'd rather buy guitars and not have to be have to do something at a guitar show or something and show how inadequate I am.
Might be the wrong podcast to actually say that out loud, but I know what you're saying.
No, but you know what I mean. I've done a couple of guitar shows, and you're playing all this Chuck Berry stuff, and then some guy comes on playing with two hands, and all that kind of stuff. So I know what I like, and my main criteria is, does it stay in tune? And Telecasters are, the V52s, should I say, are great for that. And because I play in an open tuning, I've tried different guitars in the open G tuning, and it can go horribly wrong sometimes if just one string's slightly out and all that. So, but they're fantastic. I bought the blue one and the Laguna Blue, I think it's called, and the black one. I bought those in America for an American tour, rather than having to go through all the customs thing. I just had them there when I got there.
So I was going through your Instagram feed today, and I noticed there's quite a lot of guitars in your Instagram feed. Lots of different guitars. Zamatis seems to feature quite often. I don't know
Oh,
if
here it is.
which I just think are the coolest guitars ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one, I toured with this for years, but then I've got a couple of dinks in it, and I thought, why am I taking it on the road? You know, it's too risky. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a vintage one, a vintage Somatis. But it's a great guitar, you know, and I've got it actually tuned to open tuning at the moment. I've been using it for recording.
Also,
It's
what are you recording?
Well, at the moment, we're getting a new record together, and working with it's a different thing, obviously, because we're in a different sort of era of the band at the moment, and we're you know, dealing with all that. But we're working with a lot of different outside artists, shall we say, like a lot of well-known people, just friends, and we've never really had the chance to do that for various reasons. So sending stuff back and forth with people in other countries, and so it's quite interesting. It's I mean, I like writing with different people, because something comes back and it's like, oh, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah,
you know, it's different. You know, people I admire anyway. I'm really, I can't really say who's on it yet, but it will be announced pretty soon, and there's some pretty impressive names on there, which I'm quite, you know, it's quite a thing for us to actually be that people want to work with us. So, you know, it's nice.
That's cool. How are you finding the change from guitarist to guitarist and singer?
Yeah. Well, years ago, doing the Glimmer thing, you know, toured quite a lot with that, but that, you know, that's 20 years ago, you know, so almost, I guess. And the way it happened, it was it all happened sort of quite suddenly. So there was no rehearsals. We're on the Monsters of Rock cruise with, you know, every other band in the world on there, you know, watching us and stuff. But the gigs went well, and there's things as we're going along. There's things where I'm going, yeah, I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't be playing here, or maybe I should just drop out a bit, or get Paul to do some of the solos, do more of the solos now, because it's all, we haven't had time to. It's a gradual thing, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But you know, you want to go out and engage with the audience, and then you go, oh shit, I've got to get back to the pedal or whatever, or you know, all that sort of stuff, you know. But it's been fine. I mean, I've been singing every gig we do. Obviously, we're doing backing vocals, but I was singing a lot, and also I would do all the sound checks.
Right, so you didn't have to learn the words then.
I know the words. I know, well, you know, famous last words, but I do know most of the words, which I'll leave it at that. But so it wasn't like, some songs are a little more difficult than others because some songs weren't written for my voice. You know, we're doing we're bringing a lot more songs in from the other 12 albums we have that haven't seen the light of day, or some of them, most of them haven't. So we're going to bring more of that into the set, and you know, because you know, we're proud of all the songs we've done over the years, and you know, I love playing all those old, you know, all the old songs from the first album and stuff, and that we'll always do some of them, but to me it's sort of like getting stuck in a rut, just playing, you know, all the songs off the first album and all that, you know, which is, you know, some people they want to hear that, and maybe some people, you know, person in the band, that's all they want to do, you know, and I find that a bit too sort of, yeah, it's great to celebrate your past, but if that's all there is, you know, it's like, I want to just keep making music, and be able to actually play it for people rather than it comes out on a CD or Spotify and then it's never heard again,
Yeah.
So, a lot of
you're
these
right.
songs...
I mean, there is something like 9 albums post the first 2, isn't there? That contain some really good songs.
Okay.
And you never hear those.
You will now. You will now. And
the other thing is they need to be played live to a certain extent to settle where they're finally going to settle.
Oh yeah, because they become something different. And with us, I think most of the songs become so much better than the recorded versions. Because you play in this studio, you've just written it, and then it's stuck. You put it down. Everyone's just sort of feeling their way around it, get their part, and they play it, and that's done. And then when you play it live on the road, you play it like 10 or 20 times. You go, oh, I should have played this. I should have done this. And,
So I think that's really, really, really. Sorry, Jason. Just really, really valid. I just think the number of, like I say, the number of bands and how the songs change, and then how the things that fans' favourites become albums or become songs that were probably never singles, or they were never really pushed, or what have you. But the fans kind of work it out, and the band kind of work it out, and you end up in a situation where the ones everybody's craving for aren't the ones that, say, a record company, took a liking to. And that only comes from playing them.
That's it. I mean, and of course, the world that existed in 1990 doesn't exist now. So there's no way a rock band is going to have like some massive song, because the charts don't really mean anything.
No.
Unless you get something in a TV show or something, a big TV show or a movie.
A TikTok video.
Well, exactly. And then, so that doesn't count. So you can't compare newer songs you've written to old songs in terms of, it's not as big a song. So it's never going to be as big a song. But like I said, to the fans who really listen to the music, some songs, like for us, like we've got Mona Lisa Smiled is probably our biggest song now. It wasn't like a hit song, but I know when I get my PRS checks, I see which are the songs that are the ones that are most listened to and downloaded.
Awesome. I've only got two more points written down, really. The first one is a very personal point. I was scrolling through your Instagram feed and I found a picture of Cyril Regis, who was like my boyhood hero.
Okay, well, here's the thing, right? Before I was into music, I was football all the way. My dad was passed now, but he was a really good footballer and boxer, and it's all sports. But he loved music as well. And when I was a kid, I'm from Bedford, right? So you've got Bedford town or whatever, but it's not a league club. And I had a season ticket. I used to go see Northampton Town because my granddad supported them until the one day he goes, right, that's up. I've had enough. And I said, what are you saying? He says, I've had 50 years of this. I'm not doing it anymore. So we stopped. And it was. I remember it was when I was still at lower school, and I decided, right, I'm going to support a team that no one else supports.
Come on.
And it was West Bromwich Albion.
Right? Yes, the first guest, Dan. The first guest that's been another Albion fan.
Yeah. So I must admit, I'm not. I don't follow it that much anymore. But that particular era, I remember crying my eyes out when they lost the FA Cup semi-final. I can't remember what year it was. Like 78.
I was there.
What was it? 78 or
78, 79? I can't remember. Yeah. The one that, it was at Arsenal's ground.
Yeah.
Highbury.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, I can't remember
My dad and my dad and my
QPR we
brother.
lost to?
My dad and my brother supported Arsenal, and they, it's still Arsenal's. My nephew supports Arsenal, so I sort of have a little bit of thing with Arsenal as well. But Cyril Regis was just. I mean, how he didn't play for England more, I don't.
Oh no, he was amazing.
It was just like the classic striker, and I mean, strong as a ox. You know what I mean? It's like real old fashioned. Proper striker, you know.
He was proper number 9, wasn't he?
And he was lovely.
Yeah.
We used to, because I grew up 2.5 miles from the training ground.
All right.
We used to go, like in the school holidays, like we'd go and we'd stand there like as 8-year-olds with our autograph books, sort of thing. And like I must have had Cyril Regis' autograph like 100 times. And he was always absolutely lovely. You know, and
what about Laurie Cunningham?
Yeah,
what a player he was, and Peter Barnes. That was around that era. Peter Barnes was playing with, and
Peter Barnes was a player.
Yeah, I mean Brian Robson.
Brian Robson. And who was the? And I don't know if was it Mick. Was there a guy? There was Mick Brown, wasn't there? And was it Mick Brown?
Bomber Brown.
And there's
hang on. 1 Tony Godden, 2 Brendan Batson, 3 Derek Statham,
yeah, wow,
4 Bomber Brown, 5 John Weil.
John Weil was the one I was thinking of. He was the tough guy at the back.
Yeah.
6
Ali Robertson, 7 Brian Robson, 8 Ali Brown, 9 Cyril Regis, 10 Laurie Cunningham, 11 Len Kentello, and super sub John Truick.
Who was the other one that played? Did Remy Moses? Was he there? Remy Moses. Yeah.
So when Ron Atkinson went to Man United, he took Remy Moses and Brian Robson.
Yeah.
1981, that semi-final.
Oh, it was, right. Yeah, and the thing is, what I loved was, I'm sure it's same as I am now. I thought, their kit looks really cool. I'm going to support them.
I love their kit. I really do. I mean, I
had the away kit as well.
One.
Yeah, the yellow and
yellow and green. I don't wear football tops anymore, but if I did, I'd quite happily wear the West Brom one.
Yeah, it's a good kit. Yeah.
Just as we move on, because obviously there's only 3 people now left listening to this. So, do you want to ask your last question? So the 3 remaining listeners who are also West Brom fans, clearly, can.
I'm just impressed that I can remember the lineup. But apart from that, the only other thing that I was like, wow, that's incredible. There's a picture of you playing Keith Richards' Hummingbird.
Oh, yeah. I've actually, here's something else I'll show you here. I've got, this is really heavy, but I've got, can you see it?
Yeah.
So that's signed by Keith Richards. It was like their record, the vinyl from the 70s.
Wow.
On my 50th, he sent me a thing. So, yeah.
Well, he didn't bloody send me anything on my 50th.
I know, bloody cheek, hey? A friend of mine, Alan Clayton, who's a singer of the Dirty Strangers, he also works tour managers for the Quireboys, and he's very good friends with Keith Richards. So Keith Richards gave him this guitar. It's a Hummingbird, and it's actually I've checked it out because I've looked at the pictures and everything. It's the one that Graham Parsons gave to him that was used on Exile on Main Street. So that's the guitar.
Wow. How did it sound?
Well, yeah, you play it, and the strings haven't been changed for a while. So, but of course, it's weird just playing it because you're sort of like you just end up playing something Stonesy or playing Wild Horses or something on it. It's just automatic. But I was just nervous of putting it back on the stand and it falling over or something. But it's really cool. Keith just said, "Yeah, have to Anna to want you to have this guitar." It's like not a bad thing to have in your living room.
No, not at
or
all.
Something for the pension or something.
Yeah, it's probably worth quite a bit because it's the one that's in all the Nell Cop photos, isn't it? By Dominic Tal.
It's the same one. It's the same guitar, and I've always been offered. Yeah, I'm always able to. If I wanted to use it to record, I could use it for recording. It's just never got round to it, So
you should.
Maybe, yeah, I'll have to just for, or at least pretend I'm recording in front of a microphone.
All right, that's brilliant. I've asked all the questions I wanted to ask. Have you got anything,
cool.
Ant?
No, I mean, I really liked you up until the point when you told me about owning that guitar, and I've gone off you quite quickly now.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah. Well, it's not my guitar. I've just literally had a go on it a few times. So
right. I'm warming to you again. Though.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's not here.
Right. Okay. Fine. No, I mean, Griff, thank you very much. It's been lovely to meet you. Lovely to talk to you.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll catch up somewhere along the road, or
we'll invite you to the show, but you don't like coming and playing guitar shows. So,
I like watching good guitar players.
Come along for a curry next time. We do a great curry on the Saturday night.
All right. Well, now I'm a singer. I don't have to pretend to be a guitar player.
Perfect. That's always been my excuse too.
Yeah.
I just need to play the cowboy chords, and somebody else can do the hard work.
That's where I'm coming from. Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right,
thank
mate.
you. And that was Guy Griffin.
Yeah,
that was a bit of a treat, wasn't it?
It was. I hadn't expected to get Guy on, but there you go.
No, really, really good actually. We kind of finished the podcast proper. But then we have to come back because there's important things to update you with since we spoke to Guy, to be fair.
Well, yes.
And the first one is that Ian, a friend of the podcast, Ian Sloan, who plays slide with the wind tower. Is it just slide he plays?
No, he plays guitar as well. It's
right.
Pedal.
He plays guitar.
Pedal steel,
not slide. Pedal steel, and guitar with the Windtown Marshalls. They've got a new album out.
It's brilliant. It really is brilliant.
Very, very exceptional. And we got a little thank you, didn't we, in the credits?
We did, yeah. I whipped it open, and then because I'm a bit of a nerd, I like to read the sleeve notes. And there we were. And it said 9 to 42 podcast.
Yeah. And he's such a lovely bloke, Ian. So thank you, Ian. You're very, very kind.
Yes.
Aside from the fact that what a great thing to have your name on.
Oh, I know. This is only the second time it's ever happened to me. It's quite exciting.
Well, it happens fairly regularly to me,
I know.
But only with Marillion. Only with Marillion. It's never happened to anybody else. So this is what a treat. What a treat. So congratulations, Windtown Marshalls. Congratulations, Ian. And it's a stunning album, and we'll put a link in the show notes. But you should check it out because it's really, really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I've included it in the Guitar Show newsletter as well. It's going out at the end of this month. In the what I'm listening to right now.
Oh, there you have it. The other thing, of course, is that being the pros that we are, primed and ready for Series 2, we completely forgot to thank Focusrite, didn't we?
It's shocking. So,
I know.
Thank you, Focusrite. Thank you.
I mean, they keep giving us money. I mean, actually giving us money.
I know. It's awful, isn't it? I just think we're out of practice. So, yeah. Go and check out their gear. This is made using the Scarlett 2i2. It's blinking at me now as I'm talking.
It's good gear. It really is good. And they are lovely, lovely people.
Yeah.
Really lovely people. Right, well, we'll call it a day, shall we, there?
All right, mate.
As we tiptoe over the hour point. So we've even added to the value. This has even become more value for money. Actually, on that point of credits in sleeves, your EP's on my desk.
Ah, yeah.
Is there a thank you anywhere in there to me?
There's no thank yous anywhere.
No. No. Thanks, Ian.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for listening to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. If you've enjoyed the show, then please remember to hit the subscribe button and share with other like-minded souls. For more information about 9 to 42, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at the Guitar Show UK. This has been an A Short Stories production.